Hey guys, welcome back. It's Colin with the Sun Pirates TCG. So, with our next regional still being a few weeks away, and with EB1 still being on the horizon, I figured we'd do something a little bit more fun and casual for today's video. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys with me to locals, and we're just going to have fun and mess around with Sakazuki. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Before you click away, just hear me out, alright? So, we are playing the leader Sakazuki, but it's not going to be what you think. We're not playing the traditional build nor the stage build. It's going to be something completely different. And probably pretty bad. So let's move on to the deck list. So I'm sure you've already read the title, otherwise I don't know why you even clicked on this video. But we're doing a 50 card singleton Sakazuki deck. So I got the idea from when I was watching a YouTube video about the commander format in Magic and how you go about deck building, and I figured, is there a possible way to do that for One Piece? Well, quite frankly, probably not, but if any leader could probably do it, it would be Sakazuki, since, you know, he draws 2 cards per turn, effectively. And yeah, so this is the first half of the deck list. We have, again, obviously, singletons of a bunch of Navy cards. This is what I call the Navy half of the deck. A lot of cards you're familiar with, like the Kuzan, the Borsalino, Houndblaze, of course, Great Eruption. We're playing the stage 2, because, you know, we can only play one of each card. A couple boss monsters in Isho and the 6-drop Sakazuki, and then a bunch of 2Ks. Ideally, you'll see more from the other half of the deck, but we're playing like, I think like 10 2Ks just to support the fact that obviously we only have like the 2 searchers here. So yeah, a couple extra surprise guests here would be like Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, which I actually think this is a pretty good card in general. Obviously not efficient for optimized Sakazuki, but we work with what we can, right? So let's get on to the other half. Okay, and here's the second half of the deck slash non-Navy cards of the deck. I'm not going to go into too much detail into each of these picks, because to be honest with you, I just try to find whatever was good in my binders that I could just fit in for the 50 cards. Obviously, you know, we're playing the things that we should always be playing, like Rebecca, Sasabo, the Bansheri to pick one of these up, the Lucci, of course. The Absalom's actually just a second Lucci. A few more 2Ks that are just generically good. And then my favorite piece, the Rush Usopp. Now, I don't know if you guys already saw our podcast with Chris from Small Hat Crew. If not, link in the description below. But he had a really funny story from Nationals in a side event where he lost to this card from a Sakazuki deck. And I really, really, really want to beat someone with this too. So hopefully we can pull this off. I don't really have any high expectations, but if we can, that's a dream, right? Yeah, so I don't know, whoever wants to reproduce this deck, maybe I'll put a link in the description below. But we'll see you guys at locals. Alright guys, we're here today at Sunshine Games, which is the normal locals that our group goes to every Thursday. A lot of players here, usually like, I would say like 20 to 30 plus on a week. And yeah, a lot of fun characters here, a lot of really, really nice and friendly people.
So you're not gonna play WoW?
No, I'm gonna try to play Whitebeard.
Yo, John Bull, want to see what I'm playing?
Whitebeard's the one fan.
I want to see this play. No, you don't get to see.
That was the secret.
The leader doesn't matter. It's the deck.
The leaders does matter slightly.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, it's Rebecca that matters.
If he only looked at the leader and Pat walked away, he'd be like, alright, great, so I get another list.
Huh?
Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it.
Is this a singleton though?
Yep.
Oh, that was right.
It's fire.
Can you guess what leader it is?
I already saw the video.
Yeah, okay.
I won't say it out loud. I had to do a double take. We're just having fun today.
Trevor's gonna be scared of this deck. He's gonna get cooked by it.
Trevor doesn't get to see anything.
Right now,
Hey, Mr. Arvin. Want to see my deck?
SFL.
SFL, probably. I need your professional opinion on it as a professional Sakazuki master.
Alright. Does the audience know the deck yet?
They do, yeah.
Let's go. Oh my god. Yes. These are all good cards. All good cards.
Yeah, they're all good.
Maybe some not so good cards.
I just found the 50 best blue and black cards, man.
Oh, it's not EVO one yet. Nice. Let's go. Broken. Oh my god. Stage. Raging Tiger, yeah.
What do you think?
I love it.
Okay, and getting into round 1 versus Green Uta. And just a reminder as we're getting into this, please be respectful to my opponents in the comments. You know, everyone's at locals just to have a good time and have fun, so any disparaging comments, you know, will not be accepted. For me, it's one thing, you know, if you want to talk smack about me, about how bad I'm playing or whatever, that's one thing, but, you know, let's not do that for my opponents. They're just here to have a good time. But, yeah, so Uta goes on the odd curve, does a typical swing for 8 at my face, and looks like I pick up a pudding from life, which is very, very exciting for me since he now has 7 cards in hand. And now he's reading the card, make sure he knows what he does. And yeah, so shaving him down from a 7 card hand to a 5 card hand, definitely not where Uta wants to be starting off. Okay, and then just a swing for 5. And you'll notice I have the playback speed at 2 times since, you know, for this match in particular, we actually have quite a bit of thinking to do. And Uta swings for 6, flips up a Luffy. I counter with a Toshigi. Nothing overtly suspicious here. I've only shown cards that Sakazuki would normally play, aside from the Toshigi, I guess, since they don't really play that anymore. But as you can see here, I have an Isho in hand, I believe, which will come in very handy next turn since I'm on the even curve here. So I just put out a Sabo. Again, nothing to see here, folks. Nothing out of the ordinary just yet. Oh, except I discarded the Rush Usopp. And now the alarm bells should start ringing, I would imagine, for my opponent. So he goes 6 of the pudding, just get a threat out of the way. I let her go, of course. And it's another swing for 7. I think it's because at that point I don't really have a 2k to utilize with the Sabo blocker, so I'd rather just keep the Sabo alive. And here's the Isho, about to rip 2 cards out of my opponent's hand. And here he is looking at the camera being like, what is going on, man? So rip him from 6 cards down to 4 cards. And yeah, and I feel like I'm firmly in the driver's seat with my Highlander deck. Just discarded the 6-drop Sakazuki. Again, nothing to see here, folks. And got a little bit greedy, swung with the Sabo there. Probably shouldn't have, but whatever. Still at 2 life. I feel like I'm so far ahead, but that probably was a bad swing. I probably opened myself up to potentially dying to I'm invincible. Not that I think my opponent would go for it, considering how many cards I still have in hand, but it's always a possibility. Especially with this deck, considering that I have much less counter than I normally should have. Opponent does a little bit of thinking here. I think he's going 6 at my Sabo, and then I countered, which then he goes 6 in my face. So I am down to 1 life, so it is kind of the danger zone against Uta, especially because of the I'm invincible event spell that could just end me out of nowhere if I'm not careful. So here I pitched my 10-drop Kaido. I was really tempted to play it, but, you know, my opponent was still at 4 life, so it's not quite active yet, and didn't really want to risk not hitting them down to 3 life, so just try not to get too greedy. Probably just gonna use the Isho to shrink the opponent's board and get it ready to completely clear, which I drew my 1 of Houndblaze. Very sacky of me, of course, to see the 1 of. And we go 8 at the Brook. And then 9 went at the Zoro via Isho. And then there's my Absalom that comes down to destroy the Nami. Again, we're playing singleton, so the Absalom is kind of like my second copy of Lucci, so to speak. But yeah, I definitely got some weird looks when when I put that card down. And then of course I put down my Mancherry with my last 2 Dawn to get back at 2k. Yeah, and here I just guard the AK swing with Sabo just to avoid any shenanigans with I'm Invincible. Okay, so I have a pretty commanding board presence, especially with Mancherry on the table, but again, my opponent's still at 4 lives, so we still got quite a bit of work to do here. Looks like I'm eyeing the Sogi King in my hand. That's as a possibility. And here I'm thinking for quite a bit because I have quite a few options between the Sogi King or the Red Rock that's in my hand. And I think there's a Moria, which I actually pitched because, as you can see from my trash, there's like no great options with it. You know, obviously I don't want to revive the Pudding. The Rush Usopp just isn't enough. The Kuzan doesn't really quite get me there because I don't actually have any removal in hand, so I try to be a bit more defensive here. I think I'm just planning to Mancherry back my Sabo if I remember correctly. And yep, that's exactly what I do. I pick up the Sabo, I play the Sabo, just wall up a little bit for the following turn that's coming. And here I'm just like death gripping a bunch of 2Ks just to be sure that I live. Although I will say at this point I'm kind of sweating since the Luffy and the Usopp are still on the table, so I believe if my opponent has double of the I'm Invincible spell, I potentially lose. But we'll see. So here I'm just like sitting back, just praying that I believe the 4 2Ks in my hand would be enough to keep me alive. Yep. And of course here's taking a bit of time to think since it's a pretty crucial turn. So the Uta swung for 9. And I'm thinking for quite a bit. I give the block you here because again I'm just worried about I'm Invincible, which as you can see he just now picked it up. So here I'm really sweating because there's 6 Dawn open, so it represents that there's potentially 2 I'm Invincibles, which means 2 more Uta swings or Uta leader swings. So I'm definitely sweating at this point. And seeing a Dawn being attached to the Usopp and potentially the Luffy makes me a lot more relieved. And then he just goes Brook into Uta blocker, which still puts the onus on me to have to remove the blocker if I want to go for lethal, pretty much, since I only have like 2 good attackers, two good character attackers, I should say, between Absalom and Isho. And here my opponent's just debating on whether to use the Uta blocker's ability to pitch a spell to untap Luffy. So he really thinks for a while, and it looks like he opts not to do it. Pretty sure it's because he's just really hoping to use the I'm Invincible to go for lethal next turn, which is definitely a fair decision to make, especially the fact I hadn't really shown any removal the previous turn to wipe his board. But yeah, here I'm trying to think of how to calculate lethal. I believe I just now top decked the Rob Lucci, which in tandem with the Isho actually does a really disgusting play to blow up 2 bodies for very little cost. Yep, so the 1-Don goes in Isho to shrink the board. And I think, yeah, I'm going for it. So, everything's shrunken by 3, so Lucci very easily pops the blocker Uta and the Brook. You know, honestly, for a singleton deck, I drew really, really well this game, seeing all the necessary pieces that I needed at very opportune times between the pudding into the Isho into the Lucci that, you know, I really needed. My opponent triggers an I'm Invincible to turn them into a 6k base, which I believe I still have enough to get through. And yeah, Isho swings for 12 for lethal. And that's game 1. Okay, and going into round 2, so we're actually up against our very own Trevor Nemkovic on his patented Whitebeard deck. Shoutouts to our Shovelbeard deck profile, and he just like manhandles my deck box to grab a coin to figure out who goes first. Alrighty, and being that this is Whitebeard versus Sokka, this one, especially at 2x speed, should be relatively quick, for one of us at least. So Trevor goes first, starts off with a 1-Don Nami, and then just basically shotguns it before I even lay down my life. And so I'm doing the typical Sokka play, cycling the Hina and then playing out Don Quixote Rocinante. And he does a Makino because he's very, very disrespectful towards me, and then plays a 2-drop Sanji 2k. Oh boy. So, funny enough, my Rosinante swings back into the Makino. I go 7 in lead, and I think I disrespect him back with the Murakumo sword to clear both his bodies. And then goes back with the Whitebeard, typical 6k with lead, 6k with the Rush Luffy. And here I'm kind of in trouble because I believe I'm not really having that many 2ks to work with. Granted that I don't have any searchers to find them like I would in normal Sakazuki, so we do what we can. We go 6 at the Luffy and then Rush Usopp into the Luffy. And yeah, hope that's enough. Spoiler alert, it isn't. But Trevor's also sweating here because if you can see from his hand, he has literally 5 events. So he has no other real bodies to present. And so Rosinante gets tossed by the wayside, and I very skillfully flip Sanji's peel off at a trigger. And yeah, so this is my 8 Dawn turn, which here I have to do some math to figure out what my next play is. Since I'm like eyeing this Isho in my hand, but the funny thing is that I actually die if I Isho because of the Luffy that's already on the board, so that's not an option. And so I have to pitch this Mihawk. Trevor shows us his hand is completely bricked with events, but at the very least he's nowhere near being lethal on my turn. Yeah, so I think for a while, and this is actually, honestly, this thinking is the majority of the match, funny enough. So, oh, he's telling me not to swing with Rush Usopp, and I'm like, nope, I'm gonna do it anyway. He just basically tosses 2 events to stuff both swings, but yeah. And we're going pretty fast here at this point, since both of us know exactly what the other person's doing. For the most part. I mean, I barely know what I'm doing myself with this Highlander deck. I do the classic 1-2 punch of Ice Age plus Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, but of course I can't hit leader, and then Trevor very skillfully top decked his second Whitebeard to basically put me out of the game. And yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote, folks. I'm gonna play Sabo just to see if I stay alive somehow. But with the amount of cards left in my hand, and again, like I said, I barely had any 2 cases game. This is pretty much no good. I see the Borsalino, but I don't even have enough Don to. I don't even have enough Don to play it. So yeah. And here I tried to counter up to 11, but failed to do so. So yep, game's pretty much over. But yeah, so we're 1-1 now. On to round 3. Alright, and going into round 3, we're up against the red-yellow Sabo deck from the new Three Brothers deck. So I go second. I do my typical cycling. Cycle the Murukuma, which might bite me in the butt later. And so yeah, he goes in with the Zoro. Funny enough, haven't actually shown anything super interesting yet from my Highlander deck, but I believe that's about to change very shortly. And we show the first unnatural piece of the deck being the 3000 Worlds. Obviously way worse than using a Hound Blaze. Then we guard with the 2k Khalifa. And here I see my Great Eruption, the 1-of, like every other card in the deck, and now I see my 1-of Hound Blaze. So we punch in for 8, still not doing anything super impressive unfortunately, but hopefully that can change with the Tashigi Searcher. But she just grabs the 2k. And then I play the almighty Don Quixote Rocinante. This card's actually been coming up a lot. My opponent thinking for a bit here. Looks like he's going for a 7. You just give the Rocinante, might as well, right? Then the Zoro comes in, deals the damage, and then through leader ability, because it was a 7k swing, or 7k power, I mean, the Zoro got to get stuffed back into life. And here I cycle a Brook, which, as you'll see in a few minutes I'm gonna regret very heavily. So Tashigi swings for 5, Leader swings for 6, and as you see, the Kiku Nojo came out. So had I not discarded the Brook, I would have been able to, well, I guess not this turn in particular, but ideally down the line, had I not discarded the Brook, I would have been able to just straight up trash the Kiku Nojo without having to deal with the heal ability. So Borsellino blocked, gave it 2k, but then the ace comes down, and then I'm in big trouble since I'm staring down a bunch of 7 and 8k swings this turn. And my opponent's just explaining how he missequenced, that he should have done the leader ability before swinging with Kiku Nojo, but it's alright. I'm still in a heap of trouble regardless. And yep, I just don't have the counter and he puts me down to 0, so we got a lot of work to do, and I don't think we're gonna get there, but we'll try. So I'm staring at the Kaido in my hand. Obviously, it's if I use it, I pretty much die, because I doubt that I'm gonna draw enough counter to really survive these next 3 swings, if not more. So yeah, I just pitched to Kaido because he's not gonna help me out. And here I go for 9 at the ace, which of course my opponent very wisely counters. And then I attempt to Sakazuki, destroy the ace, which I got the moral victory. I got to play an admiral here, but I think that's pretty much all she wrote. So yeah, this one we floundered around quite a bit, courtesy of our consistency with the deck, but it is what it is. So my opponent goes swing swing, and then the Zoro is going to come in for big number to kill me. Yep. Alright, on to round 4. Alright, and now in for the 4th and final round, we're up against the ever illustrious Arlong leader. Which, funny enough, when we were at the Oviedo Regional a couple weeks ago, Arlong did make top 32, so, you know, maybe the deck does have legs. Maybe we were a bit too harsh on this guy. So I go for the 3-Don Sanji's Pilaf, very, very powerful. And my opponent's already very confused, as I've shown Brook into 10-drop, bounce Kaido into Pilaf with a Manchuri doing nothing on the board. And now I have to start reading his cards, so he goes Arlong ability, swing 7 with playing the Inurashi, which actually does kill my Manchuri, funny enough, so I have to be cognizant of that. So we swing, we dealt damage, and oh, it's another Inurashi. So we're in big trouble. That Manchuri is literally quite dead on his next turn, if he so chooses. And here I play out the stage to shrink. And we have the Absalom to pop one of the 4-drop Inurashis. And yeah, and at this point my opponent's been questioning me this whole time, being like, what the heck are you doing? And I'm like, don't worry about it, man. It's for the content. Okay, an opponent goes in for 7 with the Inurashi. He's gonna pitch something to blow up my Manchuri, so I get no value off of it. Which, he discarded a card to do it, so it's kind of fine that my 1-drop play kind of traded for a card in hand, I guess. Not happy about it, obviously, but we do what we can. So we try to hit back into the Inuarashi. Try to either tax cards or get the body off the table. So I believe I'm trying to set up for the 7-drop Borsellino here. So my opponent guards both swings, and I believe I still go for Borsellino regardless. And yeah, we bottom the Neko Mamushi and establish an AK body to threaten with. So swing for 7, and I flip the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger to bottom the Inuarashi, but then my opponent confirms the 9K swing for my last life, so I'm still in big trouble here, for sure. So I need to do what I can to basically threaten lethal on my next turn while also not dying, which is definitely a huge risk because I don't know if you guys saw earlier. Well, you can kind of see it now. My opponent's holding Kurobi in hand, which says on play rest something, and Arlong can play it off of his leader ability. So if I only present one blocker, it's not going to be good enough. The Kurobi's going to come into play and rest whatever blocker I play. So we try to do what we can. My opponent triggers Kikunojo, and then goes to 0 life from the Borsellino swing, but I should have a pretty clean clear here. So Sanji's been shrunken by 2 between the stage and the leader. Rebecca gets my Tashigi back as a 2K, but plays out Helmeppo. And then I have the Murakumo sword. And here, I have the oh so elusive Don Quixote Rocinante, which does protect me from the 1 rest off of Kurobi. So whichever blocker gets rested, I still survive anyway, and that's all she wrote, because I have lethal on the crackback. And so yeah, that makes our second win, so we went 2-2 for tonight.
Alright guys, the tournament's over. We went 2-2, so honestly, a lot better than I was expecting. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the video. Also, we have Beyblade Locals.
3, 2, 1, go.
After hours. Sorry, but yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more. See ya.